Disney is back again with another live action film, and this time we're going to be talking about The Little Mermaid. What did I think about this film? Well, stick around and find out. A young mermaid makes a deal with a sea witch to trade her beautiful voice for human legs so she can discover the world above water and impress a prince. The film stars Halle Bailey, Jonah Hauer-King, Melissa McCarthy, Javier Bardem, Malik, David Diggs, Jacob Tremblay, and Awkwafina, and many others, and was directed by Rob Marshall, and he's made films like Mary Poppins Returns, Chicago, Into the Woods, and Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. So going into The Little Mermaid, I was very skeptical going into this film. Disney, when they do all these remakes, I'm always very skeptical to see what they're going to do for a film. And the positives that I can start off and say that I really did like about this film is, first off, the shipwreck in the beginning of the film. I thought that was very well done. I loved what they did and the sinking ship and how all the different people are just going into chaos at that point. I thought that was really well done. I also did like Ursula. To my surprise, Melissa McCarthy, I thought, did a really good job here. I thought she was menacing. They do change one thing that she does, and that is when she's singing the line in Poor Unfortunate Soul where she's talking about body language. They do take that out of the film, which didn't really bother me that much, but may bother some people. I thought she did a really good job with this role, and she knew what to go for. And even though it isn't, I would say, the most special of role, because she kind of is trying to mimic the old cartoon version, I think that she does enough to kind of make it her own. But I wouldn't say she's the best villain of all, but she does carry the film, and she does make it feel like she is the villain and that she is in charge. I also did like some of the outfits that Ariel wore. There is a blue dress that she wears when she's on shore, and I thought that was really cool, and I love that bonding moment with her and Eric. I also like some of the other changes they did in this film. For instance, Ariel in the cartoon, she is 16 years old, and they changed her to 18, and I thought that was more proper, because it's kind of creepy that in the cartoon that he gets with her and marries her and she's only 16 years old. I also like that they actually explain Ariel's mom and where she's at and why she passed. They don't explain that in the cartoon. They do explain it in Little Mermaid 3, but in this one they actually took the time to explain that, so I was definitely okay with that change as well. Sebastian in this is actually really fun like he is in the cartoon, and I didn't know who the person was that actually voiced him, but I thought he did a really good job. And I also like that his motive is changed a little bit in here. So in the cartoon, he is actually getting chased by this crazy chef that wants to cook him, and they actually admit that from this version, and I was okay with that because his mission is a little bit more simpler, and I'm okay with the fact that they actually incorporated that in the film. And a few things that he does, especially when they're doing the kiss the girl scene, that scene is actually changed, but I was okay with that change, and I still think that scene is actually pretty magical. Flounder, I do like the voice acting of him, although I didn't really feel like he had as much, I would say, chemistry, or should I say a really good relationship with Ariel as much as in the cartoon. I also wasn't really crazy on his design. He's very much bleached out. If you've ever done like one of those coloring book things where you actually have a black and white coloring book and you have to color in the colors, I felt like he was really washed out like that. He was very white, and then he had a little bit of yellow on the top of his skin, but I really wasn't really crazy about his design. I found that Ariel's sisters, they were just kind of there. So in the cartoon, there is a beginning scene where Ariel is going to be in this singing performance, and so she's absent and she's above water at that point. And so when she doesn't show up for this performance, you see her sisters, they perform, and they also are very giddy. They can be kind of ditzy. They never really get into those kinds of characters in this film. They just are kind of there underwater. King Triton, his design has changed. So in the cartoon, he has his shirt off and he has these gold armbands on. In this, he has a bunch of armor on, and they also don't really capture the underwater experience with his castle. He doesn't have a really cool gold castle. A lot of his treasures are just in the middle of the ocean for anyone to steal, which I thought was a very strange choice. I found that the whole town in general underwater wasn't really captured, and I felt like it wasn't as special as it was in the cartoon. A lot of animals, they're all omitted in here, so scenes like under the sea when they're actually singing about certain things and they have the instruments and stuff, especially with Sebastian. I think they actually lose their magic. I understand from a live action perspective, you really can't have animals actually playing instruments, but it's really hard when you watch a cartoon and when you actually are watching this under the sea song and you don't have any of that. So I think that it actually loses its magic. I think they try to salvage it as much as they can, but it isn't as special as it is in the cartoon. Scuttle is played by Awkwafina, and in the cartoon, Scuttle is a seagull. In this one, he's changed to a gannet and he can dive underwater, and obviously a seagull can't dive underwater. I found that Awkwafina, she does play an obnoxious role of Scuttle, and Scuttle in the cartoon, he's obnoxious as well. But I did find that a lot of her jokes for me didn't really land. I have problems with a lot of times her humor. It doesn't really match up with me. There's also a part where Ursula just turned into human form and they cut to a scene where Awkwafina starts rapping, and I was like, no, this is not for me at all. Why is this in here? They do have 3 new songs, and that's one of them. A second song that's sung by Eric, and that song I thought didn't really do too much for him. I don't really think they really needed it. They could have cut it out and I'd have been okay with it. And then we have a third song with Ariel where she has already lost her voice and she's inside her head actually singing this song. And I thought it was pretty good, but I can see where people wouldn't really like that in that time period because she's lost her voice at that point. CGI in the film can be very poor. For instance, when King Trident, he has his trident and he actually gets mad at Ariel, you can definitely see that CGI is not up to par. A few scenes with Ursula and certain things what she does underwater, I found that because there isn't really many sea creatures really at all underwater like there would be in the cartoon film, I think that some of the atmosphere is actually missed. I also found it interesting that Ursula is apparently King Trident's sister, and we never get actual in-depth reasoning why they actually don't have a relationship anymore. We just know that she's his sister. So I thought that that was a actual missed opportunity. Ariel, I actually was fine with her performance. I didn't think that every song that she actually sang really helped her voice, really project her voice and really feel like it's very powerful, but there were a few songs, especially one in particular where she's singing to Eric, and I was like, oh, I want really more of this, and I don't really think that they really ever get to that point in the film. As I say, as far as the music in this, you get all the original songs and 3 new songs, and I think some of the songs, they lose their magic, like I said earlier in the review, because you don't have the animals under there, they're not playing instruments, and they just don't have as much powerful effect. I don't think anything is really bad in the film as far as music, and I think some of the things, they're passable and they're serviceable, and I think Halle Bailey as Ariel, I think she does a good enough job here, and I think that she's fine as Ariel. I have no issues with her. There is a cameo of the old Ariel in one of the scenes, which was really cool as well. As far as the score for this film, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. I thought it was an okay film. It's probably not a film that I'm going to be rushing to rewatch again, but I enjoyed it enough, I would say, but it isn't something that would be on my top list, and it's not a horrible film by any means. But thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about this film? And if you haven't checked out this film, is it something that you're going to check out? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on my next review.